Council members, elected officials, valued employees, people of King County, and particularly you, Mr. Chair, I want to say how very glad we are to see you here today. Your presence, of course, would have been missed on this occasion. On behalf of all of us in King County, I want to welcome you back and express our deepest wishes for your continued recovery and good health. Welcome back, Mr. Chair. King County is at an exciting moment in its evolution in the history of this metropolitan region. See, through partnerships and innovations and efficiencies, we have put ourselves in a position to do something extraordinary. I believe we can and should aspire to the goal of becoming the most forward-looking, most efficient government in the United States, a government as innovative as the people and businesses of this region. So let's look at the record. 4 years ago, I said, if we are willing to embrace new ideas and new approaches, we can bring reform to King County government consistent with our values. Here's the commitment we made. We would bring down costs toward the level of inflation plus population growth by innovating and creating efficiencies so that services could be maintained if the people supported revenues to pay for the things that matter. The voters stepped up with support for the Veterans and Human Services Levy, the Children and Family Justice Center, and most recently with 70% approval for our Parks Levy. We did what we said we would do, and more. Today, as a result, I can propose a budget that is balanced, that sustains functions essential to our people, and that restores some critical services lost during the recession. This budget works because when caught in a downward spiral of annual cuts made worse by the global recession, we turned to the knowledge and creativity of our employees to generate efficiencies. I am pleased to report to you that over the past 4 budgets, working together, we have saved a cumulative $111 million in the general fund alone, and that money is today preserving services for the public. This budget works because when seemingly locked in an upward spiral of national health care costs, our employees made the right and the healthy choices through our nationally recognized wellness program. Together, they saved $46 million over 5 years, and that money, in turn, saved services for the public. This budget works because when seemingly stuck with old ways of doing business that frustrated our customers and discouraged our employees, we adopted the practice of lean and created a culture of continuous improvement. Thanks to support from this council and from our labor union leaders, we will keep adding to our record of success, transforming our operations, delivering more value with the resources we have, focusing on outcomes. The latest achievement reflected in this budget involves jail inmates and with psychiatric needs who require inpatient treatment. Their care and security is provided by our corrections staff, whose job is securing inmates, and by public health staff, whose job is treating patients. The 2 departments held a lean event together. They didn't just talk. They seized the opportunity to remove old layers of redundant policies and wasteful procedures. The outcome has been transformational. Corrections and jail health staff are working more closely together than ever in teams, providing better safety and better care for a net savings of $1.2 million in this budget. Other lean outcomes we can measure in savings of time. You've heard about license renewals being mailed back in 3 days rather than 3 weeks, or election ballots that have been processed 30% faster, and many other examples. The council saw firsthand how lean works when we focused on real estate sales and leases. No one was happy that those transactions were taking an average of 6 months to reach this floor. And we found out why. 20 people were touching the paper multiple times, passing the same documents back and forth. Roles were not clear. The documents were unduly complicated. Thanks to those same employees who have reinvented that process, the council should now see those contracts in less than half the time. Applying those same principles, we are creating savings from efficiencies across the board. $2.7 million a year by reducing energy use and replacement of outmoded equipment and operating practices. $8.6 million over 10 years by consolidating office space. $1.4 million over the next 2 years by consolidating our computer servers, physically and in the cloud. All of that is money that we are able to reinvest in some modest service restoration and improvement for the public, and to reinvest in our most valuable asset, our employees. A top priority for the sheriff is to bring deputies closer to the people they serve and to have a place in southeast King County to restore the vital practice of roll calls with sergeants and deputies. This budget calls for reopening the Hicks-Rayburn precinct in Maple Valley. Maple Valley is in the house. Further, it restores 4 uniformed officers, 3 patrol deputies, and a sergeant. Cases of domestic violence and sexual assault still fill the news and our courts. This budget proposes funding for prevention of domestic violence and sexual assault and aid for victims. Early in the recession, the county had to eliminate all centralized training for our employees. But we ask our employees every day to learn and grow in their jobs so that they can better serve the public. In partnership with the council, we restored some training in 2012. This budget invests in the kind of training that results in increased productivity, in improved morale, and better customer service. And finally, one very simple but meaningful addition: restoring counter service over the noon hour at the Superior Court Clerk's office in Kent and Seattle. This was cut 3 years ago during the recession, and it meant that customers couldn't file a document or view court cases when they were free during their lunch hour. Next year, they can. But for every dollar we save, someone else cuts us a buck or two. Our partnerships with the federal and state governments are essential, but it is increasingly evident that we need to stand on our own, in part because our partners are not entirely reliable. It is up to us to chart our own way forward. Cities and metropolitan areas are, by our nature and more recently by default, the engines of prosperity and social transformation in the United States. It is a phenomenon recognized in a recent book by Bruce Katz and Jennifer Bradley of the Brookings Institution that heralds the metropolitan revolution. As our local newspaper of record has noted, that's just the opportunity that we have seized here, reforming from the inside, forging ahead even as other levels of government are paralyzed, building coalitions across the region to construct local solutions to complex problems. The first step in bringing this metropolitan revolution to life, according to the authors, build your network. We assembled a coalition to fund replacement of the South Park Bridge, which will open next spring. We partnered with cities in the Green River Valley behind federal repairs for the Howard Hansen Dam. We worked with environmental groups to acquire our county's longest stretch of undeveloped shoreline on Maury Island. And this year, we reached our goal of permanently protecting 200,000 acres of working forest land when we saved the 43,000-acre White River Forest. We convened an aerospace alliance to secure the future of our homegrown industry, to build prosperity and get people back to work. And we added funds in this budget to keep the alliance moving, providing the right business and government climate for the nearly 400 aerospace companies in our county and for the successful assembly of the 737 MAX. We built a remarkable network 2 years ago to secure the temporary funding authority to save Metro Transit. And we're building one again to keep our buses on the road and keep King County moving. And finally, 1 week from now, we will launch a broad county-wide campaign to fulfill the ambitious goal I have set of enrolling each and every person who will become newly eligible for affordable health care. Enacting the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was a breakthrough for an otherwise dysfunctional Congress. This is an historic moment, one we must not let pass us by. Yet there are 180,000 adults in King County who will become newly eligible for health insurance, unless, of course, that same dysfunctional Congress decides to take it away from them. Whenever one person is rushed to the emergency room for a condition that could have been prevented, that's a bill passed on to everyone. To all of you in this room who are uniting as one King County to use every means of informing your clients or your customers, your contacts about affordable health care, thank you. Thank you for your commitment. And my thanks as well to the 24 Leadership Circle members who are reaching out to business, labor, minority communities, any and all people who may benefit from this historic breakthrough in access to health care. Thank you for your hard work. Yet, even as we embark on this major collaboration made possible by federal action, a piece of federal inaction confounds us. Repayment of the federal match for Medicaid services we have already provided, $9 million worth and counting. We have worked with our congressional delegation to move the bureaucracy, but the glacial pace and senseless expense and the layoff of 7 public health enrollment staff alone is something that we just can't tolerate. We risk losing more at the very time we need those trained staff the most. And last week, I kicked off a project to connect another group of people to the benefits for which they are eligible, our military veterans and service personnel, 127,000 of them here in King County. Our goal is simple: to unravel the red tape so veterans can connect with the services they need to be housed, to be healthy, and to be successful in civilian life. They fulfilled their duty. Now we must fulfill our duty to them. In my State of the County address, I announced the appointment of 5 extraordinary veterans who volunteered to guide us in this effort. Today, I am acting on their recommendations in launching a 2-year regional veterans initiative funded by the voter-approved Veterans and Human Services Levy with 3 key actions. The first, connect veterans programs and community agencies into a King County Veteran Services network so that veterans seeking services will immediately be directed to the right program, and all agencies will use the same assessment and screening tools. Support that network with our Be the Connect workshops so that each program working with veterans will know and understand what the other one is doing. And develop online tools so that the veterans of the 21st century can access the benefits to which they're entitled using websites, mobile application, social media. This metropolitan revolution is about innovation at the local level. And one regional system cries out for our immediate problem solving. Honorable council members, earlier this year, we joined together to implore lawmakers to back away from devastating cuts to the mental health and substance abuse system. More than $30 million wiped out over the past 4 years in King County alone. In the face of state cuts, this council authorized the mental illness and drug dependency sales tax. We stepped up to do our part. The legislature must do the same. This coming year, let us stand shoulder to shoulder once again as we insist, with voice of one King County, that the legislature squarely address treatment for people with mental illness and addiction. The time to do this is now. Even as we advocate for state and federal action, our region is not waiting. We are choosing to lead the metropolitan revolution by transforming health and human service, our health and human service system. With support and direction from this King County Council, we built our network, convening a 30-member panel of health and human service leaders. In their recommendation, they identified the game changer, that aligning across organizations, moving toward proactive preventive services rather than reactive crisis response, we can achieve a collective impact far greater than any single organization or funder. In this budget, I propose a down payment by the county in the form of a catalyst fund, a core recommendation that the panel included in the transformation plan. These one-time funds are not intended, nor are they sufficient to support ongoing health and human service needs. Rather, they are there to kickstart the best new ideas and innovations, attract other investments and sources of revenue, and lead us to better outcomes in health and human services, particularly in the treatment of those with mental health and addiction issues. Our population and workforce are growing and becoming more diverse. That too is a hallmark of this metropolitan revolution. Our core vision as a government is to make sure that every person has a fair shot at success, no matter where you come from or how long you've been here. It is good for all of us that you have an opportunity to thrive, to contribute, to fulfill your potential. Yes, King County is growing. The Census Bureau says we quietly passed a milestone last year. A baby born here, an immigrant from another country. Someone out there became King County's 2 millionth resident. In short order, no single race or ethnic group will be the nation's majority. King County is changing it as well, having added 200,000 more people in the last decade, the vast majority people of color. Half are our children. Half have come from other states or other nations. Some are refugees, some are highly recruited PhDs in science or engineering. All are welcome. Bellevue and Redmond are now more diverse than Seattle. Tukwila, Renton, and SeaTac are majority minority cities. Equity and social justice are central principles of King County. We applied a detailed analysis of equity and social justice in this budget to make sure that the decisions about county programs we consider, in those decisions we consider disparate impacts and fairness to all people. Steve Cox Park. It serves a diverse, lower-income part of unincorporated King County. This budget includes $1 million from the real estate excise tax to fund artificial turf desired by the residents for the park's athletic fields in White Center. We will also significantly advance the 16-mile Lake to Sound Trail, a path that will link the shoreline of Lake Washington in Renton with the shoreline of Puget Sound in Des Moines for walkers, runners, and bicyclists in the underserved South County. And we all know the criminal justice system has a disproportionate impact on people of color. We propose funding to coordinate the many reentry and recidivism reduction programs we have in place and develop a county-wide strategy to break the cycle of people from disadvantaged communities coming back to our jail. This is the proposed budget. It is balanced. It does everything we can responsibly do within our resources. It is a far cry from the mess we were in just 4 short years ago. Now, here comes the inconvenient truth. And for once, I'm not talking about climate change. It's about what's on the budget horizon for 2015 and 2016. Unless things change, our general fund revenues will fall short of the cost of providing services by about $36 million over 2 years, with a further gap of about $16 million in the subsequent biennium. This, despite our having aggressively controlled costs in partnership with our employees and our unions. Most of the $36 million gap we face will arise because the revenue sources for counties are based on only property tax and sales tax, both severely limited by state law. Our local economy is doing fairly well. Unemployment here is down to 5.2% versus 7% at the state level and 7.5% federally. But even in this improving local climate, the tax revenues for our general fund are growing slower than just inflation and population growth. We can innovate our way to greater efficiency, and we have and we will. We can innovate our way to provide even better customer service, but no amount of local government innovation can fix a broken state tax system. Just how antiquated state formulas are was revealed when we asked our chief economist to look at Washington's 9 largest counties. He discovered that in the 8 others, an average of 44% of the people live in the unincorporated areas, and they pay into their roads funds. In King County, only 13% of us pay for the roads that 1 million cars drive on every day. Even more dramatically, just 3.6% of King County's taxable sales take place in the unincorporated area versus 21% in the other 8 counties. The reason is simple. We are the only county to have so completely and rightly implemented the State Growth Management Act, which calls for urban areas to be annexed into cities. In this, we are the victims of our own success. The old system for funding county general services and county roads just didn't contemplate growth management, and it just doesn't work in 2013. And I suppose I don't even need to tell you about transit. The legislature must give us the authority this year, the authority that we need to save buses. People need transportation options to get to work, to school, to a better life. It seems some federal and state legislators want to hold on to authority but abdicate responsibility. We embrace responsibility, the responsibility of governing, of building the conditions for ever greater regional and state prosperity. We just need the authority to fulfill that responsibility. Central Puget Sound. Central Puget Sound is the economic engine of the state, and at the heart of that great metropolis is King County. 2 million people, generating as much economic activity as the other 38 counties combined. $72 billion in King County, $72 billion in all the rest of the state. We want the state to succeed. But for that to happen, the state government must free King County to succeed. As a recent study from the State Office of Financial Management clearly demonstrates, King County exports money, lots of it, some $2 billion in net subsidy to the rest of the state every year. It hurts everyone to starve the goose that lays the golden eggs. We're well positioned to take advantage of the opportunities created by a new global economy. Globalization has made metropolitan economic regions relevant in a new way, with an emphasis on who you have. Talent, ideas, energy are transferable around the world, and people congregate in nodes like Central Puget Sound, and they create together. It is a very different economy than the one we knew 50 or 80 years or a century ago. We must dare to embrace the role of the metropolitan region as a center of action and ideas, starting from here. The place with the entrepreneurs, the ideas, the energy. Here is where we start rebuilding our state. Here is where we start rebuilding our nation. We are not waiting for Olympia. We are not waiting, certainly, for Washington, D.C. We, King County, are well positioned with 4 years of proven reform and building strong networks with our valued employees, our counterparts in cities, our businesses, our nonprofits, and this council. We will work together to maintain and improve the quality of life for the 2 million residents of King County, a place where people, regardless of their origins or their circumstances, can flourish, a place where the urge to innovate drives business and our regional economy. This is what the authors call a metropolitan revolution. And if this is what a metropolitan revolution looks like, King County is on the front lines. We aspire to be the most innovative, most efficient government in the United States. I invite everyone to join us on this journey. Now, let's continue blazing our own trail toward prosperity. Thank you very much.